tried the Lock-licious all-natural hair care product line? Well, let's hear what the Lock community has to say about it.
I love how it sprays and how it feels, you guys. Like, it feels so good. And it smells amazing, you guys.
The Lock and Twist moisturizer was really good for me. The hydration mist was phenomenal.
This is bomb, baby. I was really impressed, kind of blown away, and I think that if you're struggling, definitely go check them out.
And check out the 5-star reviews on our website. So, what are you waiting for? Go to Lock-licious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
I wash my natural hair and my face with the same product because natural hair care is easy. Natural skin care is easy. Don't make it hard.
What about now? 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 Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Oh, you can hear me now? All right. All right. All right. So let me start over again. Peace to everybody in the building. I am your brother Zion Lexx. Thumb up the video and share the live. Thumb up the video and share the live. It has been brought to my attention recently that there was a discussion between myself, Vocab Malone, Dr. Michael Heiser, and several other people. And that discussion essentially involved Dr. Michael Heiser and Vocab Malone filibustering, making fun of, degrading saying bad and ill things about one of our elders, right? That elder is known as Rudolph R. Windsor in the Israelite community. And so I took liberty at that time to do a response video as a result, all right? I took liberty at that time to do a response video as a result. And so we are definitely going to get it in. We are definitely going to get it in. And I would like to see as many people as possible. Make sure you guys are interacting in the chat room, because I promise you today's live stream is going to be real different. So please be sure to interact. Please be sure to comment so as to have a very, very powerful and meaningful discussion. Vocab Malone has recently elected to go out and get himself a Jewish scholar on the Hebrew language and the Bible to come after me. And as you guys know, I love this kind of stuff right here. As you guys know, I really do love and enjoy this type of stuff right here. So what I said to myself is, before I even plan or strategize my next move, I want to listen to everything that they had to say concerning me and concerning anything that I mentioned recently. And so I went on Vocab's channel and I watched all of the videos that he's posted so far about me. And then he has on his channel a very, very recent video of him and another fellow that seemed to be discussing my use of the Hebrew language. And, usually I'm not one to, just jump the gun and say things like, let me respond before I actually hear what they have to say. But I got to tell you, boy, when I did this initial response that you're going to hear, it was a very, very straight to the point response. All right. There's a lot of things that I'm gonna show you guys and allow you to hear in a couple of moments. I'm trying to get to the actual video timestamp behind the scenes. So as soon as I have that video timestamp behind the scenes, we are definitely gonna go in. All right. This is a very, very significant topic. I adjure as many people possible to interact as much as you possibly can, because this is truly going to be a very, very influential as well as learning live stream. I believe that we're going to learn a lot from this live stream. All right. I definitely believe that we're going to learn a lot from this live stream. All right. I almost got that video ready. Just give me a couple seconds. Let me get the timestamp. In the meantime, we're going to hit a quick commercial.
Still haven't tried the Lock-licious all-natural hair care product line? Well, let's hear what the Lock community has to say about it.
I love how it sprays and how it fills, you guys. Like, it feels so good. And it smells amazing, you guys.
The Lock and Twist moisturizer was really good for me. The hydration mist was phenomenal.
This is bomb, baby. I was really impressed, kind of blown away, and I think that if you're struggling, definitely go check them out.
And check out the 5-star reviews on our website. So, what are you waiting for? Go to Lock-licious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
We're about to get it in. We're about to get started. I see we got a lot of people in the building. Throw up the video, family, and share the live stream. Thumb up the video and share the live stream. Going to be in rare form on this one. Here we go. I'm going to load up that first video right now. I'm not going to waste any time. All right. Can you guys see it? You can. All right, good. I'm going to let this video play. So Vocab Malone decided that he was going to go get a European Jew to respond to me in place of him. And I got to give him credit. I want to honestly give him credit, because the one thing that's clear is Vocab Malone totally understands that he cannot respond to me at all. And so that's why I give him credit, right? But to the extent of how much I'd like to give him, I can't. Because after listening to this European Jew speak, I quickly understood that he's a racist. And he does everything short of calling black people monkeys in the live stream, by the way. And so he's a blatant racist. You'll be able to hear it. No cap. I don't have to put words into his mouth. You're going to hear it for yourself. You're going to see for yourself. But first, I'm going to allow them to frame their response to me. All right. Some of the opening minutes had nothing to do with me. So I kind of went straight to the time marker where they start discussing me. And then I'm going to take you to another video because apparently this European Jew really likes me, because he even did another video altogether separate just for me on his YouTube channel. And so we're going to be looking at that as well. And so here we go.
So it's fascinating to like hear them talk. I just discovered one last week that is, because I knew about a general European Israelism, but there's even specific countries that have versions. So Anglo and British Israelism is the main one, but there's this thing called Franco-Israelism. And I watched some lectures by some Franco-Israelites, and it is bizarre. They sound like listening to Hebrew Israelites with the kind of argumentation they use. Yes. Like, it was fascinating. And so, you know, there was something there first, and it seems like some of it must have been directly borrowed. I'll give you a specific. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard this argument? You might appreciate that. Can you imagine if someone's going to do an amateur breakdown of the word British, what they might try to do with it out of Hebrew?
Yeah, go ahead.
Covenant man, right?
British. Yeah.
Yes. So the British Israelites were saying that was evidence they had been established by Hebrews, right? Yeah. Is the fact that they were and the Hebrew's not even right with the way they have to do it. It doesn't really mean the way they're saying it. Yeah. But they try to say, well, this means we're the men of the covenant, right? A lot of the One Westers do the same thing, except they just say this is evidence that up until about King James' reign, there was a black aristocracy that was reigning and ruling Europe. And so the true British rulers at that time were actually themselves. And where's the evidence? Look at the name. And I've never seen Hebrew Israelites use this one yet, but I have seen Anglo Israelites use this. With Denmark, they say Dan left his mark. So Denmark is Dan's mark.
All right, guys, I'm going to pause this for a second just to kind of set you up for something. Again, this guy, not even sure how to pronounce his name, Faturechi, could be pronouncing it wrong. I could be butchering it, whatever. He's a blatant racist. He's going to make some very, very disgusting remarks about some of the elders in our community. He's going to be extremely disrespectful towards our culture, which is to be expected. We got to have tough skin, right? We can't be out here talking tough to people and not expect to get the same response. But I got to tell you, when he looked at the video and he says to Vocab, you know, it was hard watching this Zion guy. I mean, you know, all the jewelry, the bling. It was like we were watching Mr. T. And so y'all don't gotta believe me. I'm literally gonna let you see the blatant racism for yourself. And then I'll begin to comment when it's necessary.
You know, and on it goes. I'm not even joking. It's really wild stuff.
These people are such clowns. I
take it very seriously, though. They take it.
By the way, I want you guys to pay very, very special and close attention to Faturechi's continual use of the term "these people," "you people." We all know how racists speak about black people, right? I want everybody to pay very, very close attention to the amount of times he continues to say, "these people," "you people," because we all know how racists speak about black people, right? All right.
Was reigning and ruling Europe. And so the true British rulers at that time were actually themselves. And where's the evidence? Look at the name. And I've never seen Hebrew Israelites use this one yet, but I have seen Anglo Israelites use this. with Denmark, they say Dan left his mark. So Denmark is Dan's mark, you know, and on it goes. I'm not even joking. It's really wild stuff.
These people are such clowns. I
They take it very seriously, though. They take it very seriously, you know. That's what's so bizarre.
You mentioned this guy Zion Lexx.
Zion Lexx, yes.
Yes. So I listened to one of his recent streams. It was Hebrew Israelites for Dummies, and I just took the 4 out. Hebrew Israelite Dummies, and I went through it kind of in preparation of my.
By the way, y'all, he's not playing. That video that you see me put out last week, that is entitled Hebrew for Dummies. You know, I have a book like that, by the way. You know, everything I do is always strategic, right? I have a book entitled Hebrew for Dummies. All right, I have a book entitled Hebrew for Dummies. And in this book, Hebrew for Dummies, it basically gives you all of the general outlines of the Hebrew language, right? It's not able to take you all the way there to be able to read or speak, but it certainly is a dynamic start, right? And it's certainly a place where a person who is completely uninterested in Hebrew, but somehow may have to either write a book, you know, briefly about the Hebrew language whatsoever, then people utilize books like this, right? Books like this are made for all types of genres, right? Cooking for dummies, spelling for dummies, reading for dummies. There's all kind of books that are made like that. And so I did a video entitled last week, Hebrew Israelite for Dummies. And it was kind of along the lines of this book, right? Which essentially is because so many people have a very bad or piss poor understanding of what it means to be a Hebrew Israelite, I decided to do a video on it. And Vocab Malone tells this racist Jew to go on my YouTube channel, you know, to study me, which I enjoy. Not too much because not that many people follow him. He averages less than 100 views on his videos. But what he did was he took the cover photo and title of my YouTube video, Hebrew Israelites for Dummies, and he entitled his video, Hebrew Israelites Are Dummies. And so y'all know we're about to enjoy today's live stream, right? And when I start getting out of hand and out of control, just know he deserves it.
For my discussion, I was impressed. He knows a lot more Hebrew than a lot of these people do. A lot of them, when I start speaking Hebrew, I've only spoken.
They say.
All right. Again, you're gonna hear him say that his initial impression of me is that he's impressed. I know a lot more Hebrew than what he's used to hearing from, you know, the Hebrew Israelites. And so, just like Vocab Malone and his piss poor way of throwing what he deems as a compliment, even though any intelligent person will tell you that's not a compliment, it's actually disrespectful the way it was framed. He does the same thing. And so, hang on.
Dan left his mark. So Denmark is Dan's mark, you know, and on it goes. I'm not even joking. It's really wild stuff.
These people are such clowns.
They take it very seriously, though. They take it very seriously, you know. That's what's so bizarre.
You mentioned this guy Zion Lexx.
Zion Lexx, yes.
Yes. So I listened to one of his recent streams. It was Hebrew Israelites for Dummies, and I just took the 4 out. Hebrew Israelite dummies, and I went through it kind of in preparation of for my discussion. I was impressed. He knows a lot more Hebrew than a lot of these people do. A lot of them, when I start speaking Hebrew, I've only spoken to a few of them, but they will tell me that I speak Yiddish.
Yeah, which is bizarre. I mean, I always tell them, go listen, go click on a link online somewhere where a person's speaking Yiddish and tell me that's the same thing. It's like evident. Yiddish sounds very Germanic, for lack of a better phrase. It just sounds.
It is a Germanic language.
Yeah,
Yiddish,
you can just tell it right away.
Language.
You know.
Yes. Yeah. And so, yeah. So I was trying to understand his arguments and finding refutations. A lot of them, they seem to be on the patrilineal descent thing, that being Jewish is through your father, not through your mother.
Oh yeah. They're all about that. Zion Lexx did a recent discussion where he got into the rabbinical reasons for that and dissected them. And it's interesting because when you listen to it, Zion Lexx is an interesting character because sometimes he has some interesting thoughts and will be examining things, and you can kind of appreciate his approach, especially if you listen to a lot of this other stuff. And then he'll go from that to kind of just being very childish, where he's talking and he's like, listen, I am the one who should be teaching you. You should not be critiquing me. You should instead be learning from me.
Yeah, the soundboard. Yeah. The soundboard just killed me. He is, and all the jewelry. I mean, it was straight out of Mr. T.
Well, that stuff. I mean, that's stuff I saw growing up. So that doesn't bother me. Even the sound, I just tell him, look.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? I'm gonna roll back that being footage again. Did he just say in all the jewelry? That reminds me of Mr. T. This is interesting. So he's going to disrespect later on one of my elders who started, his work starts here in New York City, Brooklyn, New York to be exact. He's very well known here in the Israelite community in North America. His name is Cohen Mikael Ben Levi. And his work in the Israelite community goes all the way back to the 70s. All of his children are born in this way of life, and he has children who are well over 50 years old, by the way. So that means he has children older than this guy, and you're going to hear him later refer to Cohen Mikael Ben Levi in a very, very nasty way. But I'm going to just play some more of this video to just cause you first to understand that, you see, now the mood of the trade is shifting, right? Because, when we disseminate information and we're debating, sometimes we throw shots. And usually the shots that we throw are to the point, right? Like I felt that Vocab's flunkies were on K2 based on some of the things that they were saying, right? And so Vocab took great offense to that, as you're going to hear in a couple of moments. And you're going to hear him say that he usually appreciates my information, but when I got childish and referred to his friend as a possible drug user in front of a bodega taking K2, that kind of turned him off from me. This is Vocab saying that turned him off from me, which I think is interesting because what he then does is you invite a blatant racist. That's how you respond. So I refer to some of the warped out understanding conveyed from your group, right, as drug-like or drug userish, and then you invite a blatant racist to respond to me? That's what we're doing?
Because sometimes he has some interesting thoughts and will be examining things, and you can kind of appreciate his approach, especially if you listen to a lot of this other stuff. And then he'll go from that to kind of just being very childish, where he's talking and he's like, listen, I am the one who should be teaching you. You should not be critiquing me. You should instead be learning from me.
Yeah.
I think what Vocab fails to realize is that I was very specific. And if you guys remember the live stream that I did just 2 days ago, I was very specific. I pointed at the camera and I said, you cannot critique me because you don't possess the criteria, the know-how, nor the skill set to set yourself up as an authority to critique someone on a language that you know you don't read or speak. And I said, that doesn't mean that I can't be critiqued because I am a man and I'm far from reproach. And so I accept criticism, but you can't critique me in a language that we all know you don't read or speak. But apparently what I said was so offensive, me telling him the truth, that you, Vocab, and I'm speaking to you because we know you're watching, and I'm going to say it to you again, you don't have the know-how nor the skill set to critique me. Even when you repeat what I said just now, notice the word you used in repeating me. You. I was talking to you and your cronies. None of you speak the language. None of you read it. So how could you dare critique me on it? You tried to critique me on my understanding of metametra or hieroglyphs. None of you read or speak it. You tried to critique me on my understanding of Hebrew. None of you read or speak it. So I was absolutely right in saying that none of you have the right or authority to critique me in it. But apparently, it got you so pissed off that you decided to call up a blatant racist, one of your friends. I wonder if the phone number for this guy is so handy because y'all may belong to the same groups. Because you know, those that wear the white sheets, they don't really care at the end of the day what a person's view is. They don't care about Vocab's Christian religious views. What they will care about is joining him to take down a black man. So it's interesting, Vocab, that you're actually showing us who you are. Because in a couple of moments, everybody's going to see that the person you invited on is a blatant racist. And then what does that say about you?
If you listen to a lot of this other stuff, and then it'll go from that to kind of just being very childish, you know, where he's talking and he's like, listen, I am the one who should be teaching you. You should not be critiquing me. You should instead be learning from me.
Yeah, the soundboard. Yeah. The soundboard just killed me. He is, and all the jewelry. I mean, it was straight out of Mr. T.
Well, that stuff, I mean, that's stuff I saw growing up. So that doesn't bother me. Even the sound, I just tell him, look, if you're going to do it, man, you need to turn it down, the gain. It's like double, your gain is way too loud. The mic's distorted. Go with the sound effects. Lean into it. It's all good. Maybe do it a little bit less, you know, because it gets, but you got to get their volumes right. It's this distortion. But, you know, he'll do something that seems like, oh, this is a fascinating discussion. And then he'll deviate and kind of, frankly, devolve into like pure childish kind of antics, where he was recently accusing one of my friends, he's trying to be funny, but of smoking synthetic weed and of you know, all this horrible stuff. And it's just like, dude, let's just stick with the issues here, man. Like, what is this?
I noticed that he started calling you names instead of Vocab Malone. He's calling you all cap Malone.
Oh yeah, all lies is what that means. And
so, okay. I'm like, I
means
didn't
lie.
even understand.
Well, okay. It's not your culture. It's all right. He's saying all I do is lie. That's what he's saying. I don't mind a little bit of that because there's an element of entertainment on the internet. So I don't take the stuff personal, but I'm just like, look, let's get to the issues. So the way he presents himself is if he cannot be questioned on Hebrew. But I know for a fact, and there's times where he makes mistakes. I'm going to do a show actually on this Friday, and he does make mistakes. So it's like, look, Socrates along the lines of, you know, the wisest person.
Just a thought. Let me say this really quick. Just a thought. So I challenged Vocab Malone to a debate and his master teacher, Dr. Michael Heiser. If I'm making mistakes with the language, why not come on my platform and debate me one-on-one live? And you can invite any teacher of your choice. Why not do that? Why is it so much a better idea for you to throw rocks and stones but then hide hands? Meaning, do videos about me, talking nasty about me, and then when I respond, you and your feelings. So I'm supposed to just sit here and allow you to upload dozens of videos of your flunkies who've been talking about me for over a year now. I guess I was supposed to sit back and not say anything, right? Dare I respond? Now you in your feelings. I said it the initial time and I say it again. Until you, Vocab, step in this arena and have a one-on-one discussion with me, you are a coward. Intellectually speaking. Because if you have an issue with someone and that person has publicly stated that they are willing to have a dialogue, discussion, or debate with you on said issues, then why not meet up with them? Just a thought. It could be me, y'all, but just a thought.
Is the person who realizes they don't know anything. And even Elon Musk recently said, when you start a business, you start assuming you're wrong and then try to be less wrong as you go on. There's a certain level of, let's have some humility here. And then it's like, okay, hey, we all make mistakes. But, when these folks kind of put themselves up as like these flawless, and it's like, yo, I've seen real scholars of Hebrew, like autodidactic has its place and even experience has its place, but that doesn't mean there's no problem.
Let me just tell y'all really quick, I got to give a commentary and translation as he's speaking. When Vocab Malone said just now that, let me tell you something, I've seen real scholars of Hebrew, what he really means to say is, I know white scholars that actually know Hebrew. That's what he's really trying to say. And because we're intelligent, we can read behind the line. We know exactly what you'd like to say. It's just that you don't have the testicular fortitude to actually say it. But this Peter guy, I got to tell you, I enjoy him. Boy, oh boy, I enjoy this Faturechi guy, Jacob Faturechi, I believe his name is. I'm really enjoying this guy because he says it with his chest out, and I can respect that. I like my races open, not closet. So if you want us to put a little bit more respect on you, Vocab Malone, then come out the closet.
Problems here. And you got to recognize that. So being better than everyone else, it's like going from there's a triple A, there's a double A, there's a single A in baseball, and there's the major leagues. And so you gotta kind of understand that and say, okay, here's where I'm at, and be honest and frank. But it's hard for a lot of these guys to do this. There's a lot of bluffing that happens in this religion. Now, again, I try to give Zion Lexx compliments on his ability when I was on with Heiser. The fascinating thing is, because you mentioned this, he took umbrage to it, and that's how this whole back and forth started. He took umbrage to it, saying, "Oh, he's being patronizing. This is actually white supremacy, yada yada yada," and it was just bizarre. It's like, well, okay. And then a lot of his behavior and his responses kind of changed my ideas. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't be complimenting this guy in public so much anymore because he's a little less different than some of his co-religionists than I thought. Yeah. So that's my take on it. But I don't know. Did you hear anything in the Hebrew that he presented that would be interesting? Sorry, I don't mean to go too long on this. Sorry.
We can. I mean, it's a conversation. It's your valuable time. But the thing that I found was most interesting. First of all, he doesn't know how to say his chaz, so he just says ka. Which, if you're actually trying to speak Hebrew and you say ka instead of cha, well, it's just going to destroy your ability to speak. And what he had on the.
This is so silly. Did he just say if you're actually trying to speak Hebrew, then you should say ka instead of ka? Do y'all see how silly this is? I'm going to play that part back again. He says, he doesn't know how to pronounce his ka's. Like, he's supposed to say ka, but instead he says ka. What? So let me first correct him, because what he really wants to say is the letter kaf without a dagesh, it has the same sound as the letter chet, a guttural sound, right? So when you go to pronounce words like, let's say, the Tanakh, if you say Tanakh, that won't be perfect biblical Hebrew. But if you said Tanakh, that would be perfect biblical Hebrew, because you're pronouncing the kaf sufit in the same way or very similar to how you pronounce the letter chet, which is a guttural letter. That's what he means to say. But instead he says it so silly. So again, how are you critiquing me when you can't even properly explain the position you hold? And this is what is silly to me about these guys. Like, your racism is so stink and staunch that it's affecting your ability to comprehend and articulate with, significant common sense. You can't even articulate your position correctly. He doesn't know how to say his cars. He should be saying car, but instead he says ka. What?
Okay. And then, a lot of his behavior and responses kind of changed my ideas. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't be complimenting this guy in public so much anymore, because he's a little less different than some of his co-religionists than I thought.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. But I don't know. Did you hear anything in the Hebrew that he presented that would be interesting? Sorry, I don't mean to go too long on this.
We can. I mean, it's a conversation. It's your valuable time. But the thing that I found was most interesting. First of all, he doesn't know how to say his chaz, so he just says ka. Which, if you're actually trying to speak Hebrew and you say ka instead of cha, well, it's just going to destroy your ability to speak. And what he had on the splash screen at the very beginning, it's written Israelim, right? Except it's miswritten. I mean, it doesn't have an aleph in Israel, and then so you write Hebrew differently if you're writing with or without the nekudot, the vowels. So unvocalized Hebrew, when there's a chirik, you'll sometimes put two yuds right after each other, and so apparently he took somebody else's thing and then put the vocalization on it, because it was double. It had the double yud and the vocalization. It's like, that's the type of thing that somebody who doesn't really know the language won't recognize.
Are you saying what is it, Matros Lectionis? He had that plus?
Yes.
So exactly. That's a redundant mistake then.
Yes.
You need one or the other.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to Exhibit A real quick. Because again, apparently this guy is bright. Let me show you guys something. Just pull it up behind the scenes, and I'll share my screen with you guys. Okay, we're gonna let that play in a couple of seconds. I'm gonna share my screen, guys, so you can see something. I want to address what he's talking about. Apparently, these guys are so full of themselves that they seem to think that either I'm unable, ill-equipped, or downright afraid to deal with what they're talking about. So I'm not sure if they know me well, but they're going to learn today. I don't run, nor do I hide. I'm not built like that. Not built to run, I'm not built to hide. So here we go. I want everybody to look at the cover of the thumbnail for my initial video that I put up last week. All right. And I want you guys to see that in the word, for those that can read Hebrew, Israelim, there's an aleph missing. And that was certainly a mistake on my own. And I admit that mistake because when I made this thumbnail, I was rushing to go and do a video response because you guys know me. If I'm going to look at somebody's video today that they're talking about me, you guys know I'm responding to them today. And so that's my mistake. But you literally have over a dozen people present who take my Hebrew classes who are live online. And they all know that I know that the word Yisrael has an aleph in it. So this is an obvious mistake of mine that I own up to. That's no biggie. I'm not perfect. I was rushing to make the thumbnail to respond. And so the word Israel is missing an aleph. Okay, if that's an L, I'll take that L. But what's interesting, though, is the word Ivrim. He says he has a kirik there, and there really shouldn't be a kirik there because, the kirik, yod, matres, flexiones, like, people who speak the language know not to do that. So I'm not really sure why he's doing that. And I'm going to let him say that again. We're going to play him saying that again, guys. And then I'm going to pull it up live and show you exactly where I got that from. And the fact that he doesn't know where I got it from is even more telling about his level of scholarship. But first, I want to make sure you guys know how I am. I want to make sure that we have him on record saying that he doesn't know why I did this. And I also want you to hear his flimsy explanation. And then I'm going to show you that it's right inside of the Torah.
It's a conversation. It's your valuable time. But the thing that I found was most interesting. First of all, he doesn't know how to say his chaz, so he just says ka, which, if you're actually trying to speak Hebrew and you say ka instead of cha, well, it's just going to destroy your ability to speak. And what he had on the splash screen at the very beginning, it's written Israelim, right? Except it's miswritten. It doesn't have an aleph in Israel, and then so you write Hebrew differently if you're writing with or without the nekudot, the vowels. So unvocalized Hebrew, when there's a chirik, you'll sometimes put two yuds right after each other, and so apparently he took somebody else's thing and then put the vocalization on it because it was double. It had to say ka.
I want to make sure that everybody is following this. So again, if you look at this screen, you can literally see that. Let me make this nice and big. You can literally see that in the word Ivrim, which is the word for Hebrews, there's a kirik under the yod. And he says, I don't know why he would do that. Anybody that knows the language knows that you can't do that. So I don't know why he does that. So again, I'm not sure why he says this, but I can promise you that I'm going to show you right inside of the Torah. All right, but I want to make sure everybody heard him nice and clear, and then we're going to go again. So here we go.
Instead of cha, well, it's just going to destroy your ability to speak. And what he had on the splash screen at the very beginning, it's written Israelim, right? Except it's miswritten. I mean, it doesn't have an aleph in Israel, and then so you write Hebrew differently if you're writing with or without the nekudot, the vowels. So unvocalized Hebrew, when there's a chirik, you'll sometimes put two yuds right after each other, and so apparently he took somebody else's thing and then put the vocalization on it because it was double. It had the double yud and the vocalization. It's like that's the type of thing that somebody who doesn't really know the language won't recognize.
Are you saying like what is it, Matros? Like,
okay, great. So he just said that's the type of thing that somebody who doesn't know the language wouldn't recognize. And I wanted to make sure that everybody heard him. He's on record that when you have the double yod and the kirik, like nobody would do that. Like, why does he do that? Anybody who knows the language wouldn't make a mistake like that. So I want you guys to look at Exhibit A real quick. I call your attention to what I'm going to call Exhibit A. This is really silly that I even have to do this, but just because Vocab decided to get a racist to respond to me, I said, oh yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy this. Let me stick around just a little bit longer so I can respond. We're going to the book of Exodus chapter 3, verse 18. And I'm going to make the screen nice and big when we get there. All right. First, let me show you the English. The English says in Exodus chapter 3, verse 18, they will listen to you. Then you shall go with the elders of Israel to the king of Egypt, and you shall say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, became manifest to us. We want to stop there because the word that I have in that screen is called Ivrim, or in English, Hebrews. And he just said, and I'm going to play that just once more, guys. I'm sorry if I'm being a little annoying, but I just want to make sure that before I chin check him, that we go on record with what he had to say. All right? I want to make sure that before I chin check him, that I go on record with what he had to say. All right? So we're going to just hear him once more repeat the same thing, just for clarity. Just for clarity. Once more, we're going to have him repeat what he said. All right?
When I was on with Heiser, the fascinating thing is, because you mentioned this so much anymore, because
you can, I mean, it's a conversation. It's your valuable time, but the thing that I found was most interesting. First of all, he doesn't know how to say his chaz, so he just says ka, which if you're actually trying to speak Hebrew and you say ka instead of cha, well, it's just going to destroy your ability to speak. And what he had on the splash screen at the very beginning, it's written Israelim, right? Except it's miswritten. I mean, it doesn't have an aleph in Israel, and then so you write Hebrew differently if you're writing with or without the nekudot, the vowels. So unvocalized Hebrew, when there's a chirik, you'll sometimes put two yuds right after each other, and so apparently he took somebody else's thing and then put the vocalization on it because it was double. It had the double yud and the vocalization. It's like that's the type of thing that somebody who doesn't really know the language won't recognize.
Are you?
Okay, so for clarity, everybody heard him say it had the double yud and the vocalization. And that's the kind of thing that someone who doesn't know the language wouldn't realize. But people who know the language know that the double yud plus the vocalization, I mean, that's wrong. Why would you do that? So now watch this. And of course, jackass Vocab Malone allows him to say this because he don't know no damn Hebrew. So he don't know that the guy just made a mistake. But you're going to learn today. We're in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 18. I'm going to highlight the word. This is the word right here. Ha-ivrim. This is the word right here. Ha-ivrim. I'm going to make this word so big that it's impossible to miss it. Exodus chapter 3, verse 18. I want everybody to look at that word. Isn't that the double yod plus the vowel sound? Isn't that the double yod, as he says, and the vowel sound? And notice that he's such a blatant racist that rather go and check to see if it's in the Tanakh. He instead says, you know, he must have got this from somebody else because I don't know why he would write this. That is that blatant racism that I got to tell y'all I enjoy. You see, Vocab is more passive with it. And that's the type of racism that I don't respect. But this guy's racism I enjoy because he doesn't really try to hide it. Rather than admit that there's a possibility that I'm drawing from a textual source that he hasn't read, he automatically assumes that I'm borrowing from someone else's work and that work is wrong, even though it's right here inside the Torah and Tanakh. And this is what I mean by people are silly and stupid. And sometimes there's just no nice way to say things, so you have to tell people who they are, silly and stupid. Or in the case of Vocab Malone and Jacob Faturechi, dumb and dumber. All right, but there's more. There's more to this, guys. There's more. Because he then goes on his own YouTube page and does a video response to me. All right, he goes on his YouTube page and does a video response to me. I'm going to play his response. And I'm going to have you guys weigh in with me. All right? This is going to be the bulk of the video. The shortest part of the video is done. The remainder of the video, we're going to keep this right here. All right? And here we go. Confusing. Because within any given denomination of religious or spiritual background and organizing, you will always find diametrically opposed views. By the way, if you're wondering why I sound sped up, it's because he sped up the video, I guess, thinking that I was going to flag him. But I don't do that. I don't flag people for reposting my videos. Any video on YouTube, in my opinion, is open for critique. Didn't you put it out in the public? In my opinion, any video that's posted to YouTube should be open to critique. After all, you posted it publicly, right? And so I don't mind people taking my video, reproducing it, and even using it to critique and get at me. Right? That's all right, because I can do the same. But I'm just explaining to the audience why you're going to hear my voice so sped up. It's like a YouTuber trick. You guys never see me do that because I'm not out here tricking people and playing games with people. But people who do this for a living, apparently they know how to do all this stuff. So I had to look this stuff up today. I was like, damn, how do you speed up a YouTube video? Because I've never done it before. All right, I've never done it before. And you guys, you listen to all my lives, you've never heard me play a YouTube video that's sped up, which lets you know that these type of people are into these kind of shenanigans, where they go on people's page, take content, and try to disrespect them, which is why you're speeding up the video, because you're thinking that somebody's going to flag you. But they will only flag you if you were disrespecting them. People don't have a problem with critique. People have a problem with disrespect. All right? And so that's why you're going to hear me speaking a little fast. But I want you guys to listen very, very carefully. There are certain things that he says that I'm surely going to stop, press pause, and expound upon. But this part of the live is where his racism jumps all the way out the window. So buckle up. Always find different factions of belief and practice. So to single out the Israelite community as if this is a unique phenomenon and occurrence that only exists in the Israelite community is a very disingenuous statement to hold and to share and to convey. All right. Love the video, guys, and share it live. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
So if he's selling spices,
always ask questions.
My guess
and
is
so
those spices are not kosher.
What a Hebrew Israelite is for dummies. A Hebrew Israelite is a living descendant of Abraham.
He's absolutely right. Hebrew Israelite is for dummies.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Wait. Y'all all heard that, right? My video is entitled Hebrew Israelites for Dummies. Why? Just like these types of books are made to give people foundational understanding of that which they're looking to research, I said to myself, it would be a nice idea to do a video entitled Hebrew Israelite for Dummies. And then I wound up looking on Amazon later, and I said, wow, an Israelite actually has a book like that. So you guys go and support him. I don't know who that Israelite is, but I do want to give him a shout out, or her. But I want you to notice that this guy actually fixed his face to say, yeah, he is right. Not Hebrew Israelite for dummies, but Hebrew Israelites are dummies. I want you guys to listen very, very closely. I enjoy him, I gotta tell you. I'm not mad at all. I enjoy this type of brazen personality because at least you're standing on what you are. And I know who you are, so I shouldn't be shocked at your actions. So I always respect people who make it clear where they stand. So if you're a racist, be as racist as Jacob Faturechi. I'll at least put respect on that. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
So if he's selling spices,
always ask questions.
My guess
and
is
so
those spices are not kosher.
What a Hebrew Israelite is for dummies. A Hebrew Israelite is a living descendant of Abraham.
He's absolutely right. Hebrew Israelite is for dummies.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We get the name, title, and appellation Hebrew through the eponymous ancestor Abraham, the first person to be called in the Bible Ha-Ivri, Ha-Ivri, which means the Hebrew. And he has a son by the name of Isaac, who has a son by the name of Jacob, and Jacob's name is changed to Israel. And with respect to the nation of Israel, God says, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So the name Hebrew connects us to Abraham, and the name Israelite connects us to God, we as his sons, and he as our father. And so I couldn't picture describing myself as anything other than a Hebrew Israelite. Because by all means, I am certainly not going to discount my relationship to Father Abraham. So I'm certainly going to continue the legacy of Abraham by letting people know that I am a Hebrew. And it goes without question that I also would never, ever neglect to describe and call myself an Israelite, which shows not just my connection to all of the aforementioned biblical patriarchs, but also shows my connection to God, him as my father, as our father, and me and us as his son. And then remember what we said earlier, right? And this is not, trying to degrade people or take away from people's beliefs. Being a Jew is a matter of conversion. By the time we get to the Persian period in the Bible, the book of Ezra, you see people among the Israelites who are not necessarily from the tribe of Judah, from whence we get the abbreviation Jew. You see people who are not from the tribe of Judah who are beginning to also be described as Jews. And so any of the 12 tribes.
But Horlan, Mordecai was from the tribe of Benjamin. So are you saying that the tribe of Benjamin aren't Israelites?
Tribes of Israel can be called. Okay, and this is why listening is an art, because everybody who was on that live stream with me, one thing you saw me do was you saw me open the book of Esther, turn it to chapter 2, go to verse 5, where Mordecai is described as being from the tribe of Benjamin, yet the Tanakh still calls him a Jew. So the fact that he's making these silly statements that aren't framed in what I said is either a testimony of, again, the blatant racism reeking from his lips, or he's just really half retarded and possibly on K2 himself. But let's keep going. A Jew. In fact, there's an oral tradition that says that in Jacob's blessing to Judah, when he says, "You, your brother shall praise," some of the rabbis of the oral tradition take that to mean that later on in Israelite history, all of the 12 tribes will be called in his name, meaning all of the 12 tribes will be recognized as Yehudim or as Jews. Which means I just cut you, you goddamn idiot. Which means I just cut you. Which means you're commenting too fast. Let the goddamn video play before you add a commentary. You guys are like children. You sound stupid. Let the goddamn video play before you add your commentary, and then you see that I wasn't saying what you just said, stupid. And then remember what we said earlier, right? And this is not, trying to degrade people or take away from people's beliefs. Being a Jew is a matter of conversion. By the time we get to the Persian period in the Bible, the book of Ezra, you see people among the Israelites who are not necessarily from the tribe of Judah, from whence we get the abbreviation Jew. You see people who are not from the tribe of Judah who are beginning to also be described as Jews. And so any of the 12 tribes.
But Horlan, Mordecai was from the tribe of Benjamin. So are you saying that the tribe of Benjamin aren't Israelites?
Tribes of Israel can be called a Jew. In fact, there's an oral tradition that says that in Jacob's blessing to Judah, when he says, "You, your brother shall praise," some of the rabbis of the oral tradition take that to mean that later on in Israelite history, all of the 12 tribes will be called in his name, meaning all of the 12 tribes will be recognized as Yehudim or as Jews.
And they are.
And so within the Israelite paradigm, any Israelite can be a Jew. In the book of Ezra, chapter 8, we saw that when foreign Gentile nations converted took upon themselves the yoke of the Torah to follow the commandments of.
He means Book of Esther. I wonder why he keeps on saying Ezra when he means Esther.
Yeah, I definitely made that mistake in that live. I definitely continue to say Ezra when I should have been saying Esther. Absolutely. You got that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? If you say something wrong, you should be able to stand on it. Several times in that live stream, I was connecting things to the book of, I'm even messing up now. And so clearly that's the issue. I'm saying things that are in Esther, but I'm saying it's in Ezra. And the fact that I'm having the same trouble now is testimony to the fact that it was an error. All right? It's an error. But what's crazy about it is anybody listening clearly knows that I've read those books because I'm giving you full details. Me saying it's Ezra accidentally or me saying it's Esther accidentally doesn't stop you from knowing exactly what I'm saying. So you're actually honing in on very silly points. The real point is what I'm saying wrong. That's the real point. Not, oh, it's really in the book of Esther. It's not in the book of Ezra.
I have to wonder if it's not because somebody's shown him what I'm talking about in Ezra, and maybe he doesn't have an answer, and that's what's getting under.
Wait, time out. Did this guy actually just fix his face to say, well, maybe the reason why he's having a hard time remembering if it's really in Esther versus Ezra is because somebody's showing him what I'm saying about Esther and he's using my information? Dude, let me tell you something. Until Vocab drew you into this discussion, I don't know who you are. You are irrelevant and insignificant, like completely. Like you have a combined value of less than, 40,000 views on your YouTube page? Like combined. I have that on single videos. I don't know you. I don't gotta use your... Yeah. But I like it though. I like it.
Under his skin, and that's why when he means Esther, he keeps on saying Ezra.
Of God, the Bible says they profess to be Jews, or they call themselves Jews, or i.e. they made themselves
Mityahadim, that's in Esther, not Ezra. Why does he keep on saying Ezra?
Jews. Right, which is important because we have a clear reference in the Bible for the usage of the term Jew to denote a convert. But you will never ever find anywhere in the Bible by a matter of conversion with someone who is not a bloodline descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob being called an Israelite.
I showed you Book of Ruth. It says her son is Israel, and her descendant is in fact David, and like I showed you in Ezra, it's matrilineal.
That doesn't exist anywhere in the Bible. And so the first distinction, or as Cohen Mikael Ben Levi says in his book, Israelites and Jews, the significant difference, anybody can call themselves Jew. And here is where things get spicy. I mentioned Cohen Mikael Ben Levi and his book, Israelites and Jews, Significant Difference. And he said that he's going to go and search Cohen Mikael Ben Levi on the internet. And so he searches for Cohen Mikael Ben Levi on the internet. He takes one good look at Cohen Mikael Ben Levi, and he's going to say something. Let me first show you Cohen Mikael Ben Levi's book, by the way. Let me give the elder his due respect. So Cohen Mikael Ben Levi is not someone in the Israelite community whose book I stumbled upon on Amazon. I have a brother in the audience who's like a mentor to me, who is a mentor to me, and that brother's name is Chief Uziel Ben Lewi. And he can tell you, he can attest to the fact that we've been knowing Cohen Mikael since the early 90s, and for Chief Uziel since the 80s. When I came into this Israelite way of life in 1994, my first time hearing Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi was November or October of 1995. And when he first released this book entitled Israelites and Jews, A Significant Difference, one of the temples that he made a run, stopped by and shared the book with, is the temple that I was at that time, Shema Israel. Shout out to Chief Principal Ben Zevulun. And so I usually draw from those Israelite authors that I know and have experience with. It's very, very hard for me to co-sign other authors because I don't know everything that they teach, and I don't co-sign everything that they teach, but I certainly co-sign the elders in the community. So you guys will hear me talking about Rudolph R. Windsor's book. Shout out to him. You'll also hear me talking about Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi. So for all of you who don't have his book, go get his book. It's on Amazon. And as you're going to hear Jacob Faturechi say, it's a bestseller on Amazon at that. So we're going to take the time to give our elder his due respect. Guys, go on Amazon and purchase Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi, Israelites and Jews, The Significant Difference. This book was published for the second time in 2001, and its original publication date is 1997. All right, but here we go. Here we go. Because that term and appellation can be used as a matter of conversion.
I have no idea who this guy is or what this book is.
And so the first distinction, or as Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi says in his book, Israelites and Jews, the significant...
Israelites and Jews. Jews, the significant distinctions. Let me see if I can find this book. Apparently, Cohen Michael Ben Lewi. When this is from 1997. Who is this guy? He attended Boys High School. Okay, I care what his high school is. He later attended Morgan State College in Baltimore, Maryland for 2 years. He received his Bachelor's of Arts degree from City College of New York and his Master's of Science degree in Special Education from Graduate School of Education at City College. Okay.
Listen to him attempt to ridicule Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi's education. All right. Remember, I mentioned Cohen Mikael, and that made him say that he's going to go and do some research on him. And the first thing he pulls up, he sees where Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi went to high school. He says he doesn't care for that. Then he starts going into his college history. And you're going to hear Cohen Mikael's accolades, many of them, are high notable. And then you're going to see him start ridiculing him again. And then he's going to do the ultimate diss, right? He's going to disrespect the elder personally, which I thought was really, rather disgusting, because Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi literally has children this guy's age. And so for him to talk like that was, just downright nasty about our elder. So he's going to take one good look at Cohen Mikael Ben Lewi, and he's going to make some very nasty, nasty comments and remarks. And I want you guys to look first and foremost at who Cohen Mikael Ben Levi is. Let me share my screen so you can see. And so this is Cohen Mikael Ben Levi, who now is based in Guyana. He's with the Hebrew family of Guyana, originally based in New York, out of the old Hashaba. And he also made his way into a congregation known as B'nai Adat Kol Beit Israel, also here in Brooklyn, New York. And then about the end of the 70s, mid-70s, early 80s, he was tasked by HaKohen Levi to go to Guyana and build a community in Guyana. All right? And so this is a legacy that has, been in the making literally over 40 years, over 40 years. And so I think that this elder is due a lot more respect than what this guy is trying to give out. All right, so this is Cohen Mikael Ben Levi. Again, I want everybody to take a nice, good look at him, because in a couple of moments, you're going to hear this guy say something very nasty about the look of Cohen Mikael Ben Levi, which can only mean one thing: you're a blatant racist. Because what about Cohen Mikael is going to warrant the comment that everybody is about to hear you make? And then, as you guys heard me say earlier, what does this say about Vocab Malone? That he would have a blatant racist enter a dialogue on disagreements on the Bible? We disagreeing on the Bible. And you got a European Jew that hates black people to respond to me? That was a good idea? Crazy. But here we go.
So he nothing has served the Israelite community in his capacity as a teacher for over 25 years. Worked as a principal.
And so the first distinction, or as Cohen Mikael Ben Levi says in his book, Israelites and Jews, the Significant Difference, anybody can call themselves Jew, because that term and appellation can be used as a matter of conversion.
I have no idea who this guy is or what this book is.
And so the first distinction, or as Cohen Mikael Ben Levi says in his book, Israelites and Jews, the Significant...
Israelites and Jews. Jews, the significant distinctions. Let me see if I can find this book. Apparently, Cohen Michael Ben Levi. When this is from 1997. Who is this guy? He attended Boys High School. Okay, I care what his high school is. He later attended Morgan State College in Baltimore, Maryland for 2 years. He received his Bachelor's of Arts degree from City College of New York and his Master's of Science degree in Special Education from Graduate School of Education at City College. Okay, so he has, nothing. Has served the Israelite community in his capacity as a teacher for over 25 years. Worked as a principal in Guyana School Ministry of... In 1985, he taught at the New York City public school system. Okay.
We all know what the undertone of a racist sounds like, right? Here he is quoting Cohen Mikael Ben Levy's educational background. You know, he has a BA, bachelor's degree. He has a master's degree. He taught in here in New York City, public school. He was also a principal here in New York City. Those are high accolades. And I want you to listen how he goes in a very racist and, you know, snickering, sneerish way. That's interesting. Okay. Public school teacher. Principal. Yeah, okay. Like that's nothing. When you look up Jacob Faturechi on Google, which is who this guy is, he sells insurance. And I don't know how your business is ran, but I got to tell you something. In the real world, people tend to put great respect on educators. So Cohen Mikael having a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, teaching in the public schools system here in New York City, and also as a principal here in New York City, you're snickering in a very racist tone, like that's nothing to write home about, nothing to be proud about, because the reality is you and many people like you, no matter how high Black people climb the totem pole in life, you will always see them as niggers. And this is why you neglect to put any respect on these very high accolades of his that you are reading.
I care what his high school is. He later attended Morgan State College in Baltimore, Maryland for 2 years. He received his Bachelor's of Arts degree from City College of New York and his Master's of Science degree in Special Education from Graduate School of Education at City College. Okay, so he has, nothing. Has served the Israelite community in his capacity as a teacher for over 25 years. Worked as a principal in Guyana School Ministry of in 1985. He taught at the New York City public school system. Okay. Levitical Communications. So it's a self-published book. So this is a self-published book. Let me see if I can find any information on this guy. He has a YouTube channel, apparently. Yeah, and his YouTube channel is about the size of mine. And he looks like a clown to me.
Did everybody hear him say, and he looks like a clown to me? Oh, really? Cohen Mikael Ben Levy, who's old enough to be your father, And possibly your grandfather too, by his age. He looks like a clown. What's very telling at this point in the live stream, guys, is how Vocab Malone can use a blatant racist to respond to me on disagreements that we're having on biblical passages. So we should sit through all of the blatant racist, disrespectful marks and make our way to the scholarly critiques that he has in the midst of that. What does this say about you, Vocab Malone? If our issue is we disagree on how the Torah is understood and the Bible is understood, then let's keep it there. I certainly made a joke that the understanding of your friend showed that he might be high on drugs. I certainly did. But that was warranted based on how they attacked me. They attacked me in a very nasty way as well with various comments that they made towards me. And I responded with the same energy. But then it doesn't stop there for you, because apparently my response to your friend really hurt your feelings, just as you told Jacob. You were really upset when you saw me making fun of your friend. So then you go and find Jacob, who you know is a blatant racist. And as such, you know he's going to be very disrespectful about his views on Hebrew Israelites. And you use him to respond to me. Then what does that say about you? And to Adam Coleman, what does that say about you? Because Vocab Malone is somebody that you keep friendship with. He called you his friend on his live stream. And your friend is someone who is willing to use a blatant racist because we're having a disagreement on the Bible. And all these black men that stand by with and for Vocab, y'all are cool with this? Or are you coon with this? Coon. C-O-O-N. Coon. Are you coon with this?
So it's a self-published book. So this is a self-published book. Let me see if I can find any information on this guy. He has a YouTube channel, apparently. Yeah, and his YouTube channel is about the size of mine. And he looks like a clown to me. Well, maybe we'll go take a look at his stuff after this is done.
Difference. Anybody can call themselves Jew, because that term and appellation can be used as a matter of conversion. But in order to call yourself an Israelite, you must be.
Where did you get this?
Of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Where did you get it?
When you see us calling ourselves Hebrew
Where
Israelites,
did you get
the
this?
notion is our bloodline connection to Abraham. Isaac,
use your soundboard a little bit more and say more
Jewish,
bullshit.
And I won't get into the whole spiel of, well, they're really not Jews because they call themselves Jewish. And the suffix ish means acting like or pertaining to. To be brutally honest with you guys, and I'm talking to the Israelite community, that's a okay argument when you first come into this way of life. You know, you're new and you don't really know how to frame arguments, but that's not a sound argument.
You're right.
Jew, as a matter of conversion, we know they're converts just by the name and appellation Jew. You don't got to be team too much. You don't got to do too much. You just presented a scholarly argument because you really didn't. Because the reality is, the very term Jew and use of the term Jew, when speaking to someone that's not an Israelite, you're automatically talking about a convert. You don't need to add the ISH. You can open it to knock and show the term Jew being used as a term to reference conversion. But what you cannot find in the Hebrew Bible is the term Israelite as a matter of conversion. And that's why you never see European Jews saying that they're Israelites. Because many of them and their...
We don't use the word Israelite because it's a weird way of speaking English. And to do this in English is silly.
Rabbis know that they are in fact converts. Okay. Once again, just for clarity, did everybody hear him just say, we don't use the term Israelites because it's just a weird way of speaking English? Did everybody hear him say that? I'm saying it again. I said that the mere fact that you never find European Jews describing themselves as Israelites is because they know they are not bloodline descendants. The term Jew in the Bible is even applied to converts. And so I said I don't have a problem when people, as a matter of conversion, say that they are Jews because the term Jew can describe a convert right in the Bible. But I said the term Israelite is only used by people who are bloodline descendants, and that's why you don't find European Jews calling themselves Israelites. And then he says, well, we don't use the term Israelite because that's just not a smart way of saying things in English. I'm going to let you hear that again, and then I'm going to open a Jewish-based Tanakh with the word Israelite used by Jews that he just said they don't use. But first, let's roll back that beautiful bean footage. Israelite community. Keep it simple, stupid.
I'm glad you agree the Israelite community is stupid.
Because the reality is, the very term Jew and use of the term Jew, when speaking to someone that's not an... Did y'all hear him say, I'm glad you agree that the Hebrew Israelite community is stupid? That's not what I was saying. I said people who use very bad arguments, old and outdated arguments, I said could take a page out of my supervisor. Shout out to Uncle Paul. When I was in EMT, he would say KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I'm referring to people who use old and outdated arguments. I was not calling the Hebrew Israelite community stupid. That's what you said. Be honest with you guys, and I'm talking to the Israelite community. That's a okay argument when you first come into this way of life. You know, you're new and you don't, because then you're going to have a problem. Because there are people from England who we call today English.
Mm-hmm.
There are people from Scotland today who we call Scottish. There are people from Ireland today who we call Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them are pretending to or acting like those people. Each and every single nation aforementioned are all actually that nation. Do too much, he would say, just stop, everybody, just stop. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I say that to the Israelites. We're rounded up in the bay, about to go out for our day's work. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. KISS, keep it simple. Actually, that nation.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go into the whole spiel that the suffix ISH means acting like or pretending to, and then thinking that you just presented a scholarly argument, because you really didn't. As one of my elderly, used to call him my big uncle, one of my supervisors on one of my jobs, used to always say to us, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Right when all the ambulances were rounded up in the bay, about to go out for our day's work, we had a checklist that we had to go through. And shout out to the my big Uncle Paul, he would always say, and going through the checklist and find that people making errors left and right, and their errors are simple and, just careless, people trying to do too much, he would say, just stop, everybody, just stop. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I say that to the Israelite community. Keep it simple, stupid.
I'm glad you agree the Israelite community is stupid.
Because, and this is what we call blatant misconstruing of somebody's words. Because I'm not referring to the entire Israelite community. I'm addressing those Israelites that use old and outdated arguments. And I spoke to them the same way that my supervisor spoke to me when he said KISS, keep it simple, stupid. But you turned around and put it out there. I'm glad he agrees that the Hebrew Israelite community is stupid. Why don't you just go ahead and say the Black Hebrew Israelite community, since we really know that you're racist? And since you already being pretty much blatant about your racist attitude, why don't you just go ahead and say the Black Hebrew Israelite community is stupid? Why don't you just say that? Or are you afraid that somebody might take this video, bring it to change.org, type in Jacob Faturechi, and start a petition to end your business, your insurance business, because you're a blatant racist? And you're probably selling insurance to Black people where you live in Los Angeles. Just a thought, Israelites. Do as you will with that information. I ain't gonna stop you. The reality is, the very term Jew and use of the term Jew, when speaking to someone that's not an Israelite, you're automatically talking about a convert. You don't need to add the ISH. You can open it to knock and show the term Jew being used as a term to reference conversion. But what you cannot find in the Hebrew Bible is the term Israelite as a matter of conversion. And that's why you never see European Jews saying that they're Israelites. Because many of them and their...
We don't use the word Israelite because it's a weird way of speaking English. And to do this in English is silly.
Rabbis know that they are in fact converts. Okay, so we're going to stop right there because, again, he says we don't use the term Israelite because it's just a weird way of speaking English. And of course, he's speaking for Jewish people, right? When he says we don't use the term Israelite because it's a weird way of speaking English. So let's see how accurate that is. I'm going to go to Sefaria.org, which is a Jewish-based website. And let's see if they don't use the term Israelite because it is a weird way of speaking English. Let's see. We're in the book of Leviticus, chapter 24, verse 10, which reads, Be'ivrit, Wayetzeh ben Isha Yisraelit. And there went forth the son of an Israelite Isha, woman. How did he translate Israelite in English? Keep in mind, he said, we, European Jews, don't use the term Israelite because it's just a weird way of speaking English. So let me see how Sefaria.org, a Jewish-based website, let's see how they transliterated and translated the Hebrew term Israelite. Let's see how they translated it in English. Is that not the word Israelites right there? Is this not the word again, Israelite, right here. So somebody tell me, why is this lying little bastard speaking such nonsense? Somebody please tell me. Did we all just hear him say, we don't use the term Israelite because it's just a weird way of speaking English. So Sephalia.org was made by Hebrew Israelites, then you saying, huh? That's what you're saying? Because the last time that I checked, Sephalia.org is a European Jewish-based website, and they certainly don't have a problem using the English vernacular term Israelite when translating Israelite. So not only at this point is Vocab using somebody once again with sloppy, silly, and stupid scholarship, but Vocab went to a new low today because Vocab used somebody who's a blatant racist. It is my opinion, it is my view, and I would debate any European rabbi on this view, that most of European Jewry call themselves Jewish or simply Jews because the creator of heaven and earth won't even allow you to call yourself an Israelite as a group.
This is bullshit. This is complete bullshit.
That moniker is reserved for the children of Israel exclusively. It's a very, very significant point. All right, so in the Israelite community, you have people who either follow Yeshua and the New Testament as well as the Old Testament. You have Israelites who either reject Yeshua and only follow the teachings of the Old Testament, and that's not something new or unique. Even among European Jews, you have that. You have Israelites that either say that they reject the oral tradition or that they accept the oral tradition, and that's not unique. You have European Jews that say that they are Karaite Jews and they reject the oral tradition. And so these are some basic tenets within the Israelite way of life that needs to be understood. Also, people assume that when we say we are Israelites, it is literally something that we just came up with based on...
Yes, it is something you just came up with. It is completely something you just came up with based on a desire for things to be how you wish them to be. There's no history to it whatsoever.
Bible verse interpretation alone and exclusively. And I gotta tell you, that's incorrect also. Because if I were to take you to the book entitled From Babylon to Timbuktu, and I would take you to what is colloquially called the Israelite Starter Kit. The Israelite Starter Kit.
That's a Ben Yehuda. That's a Ben Yehuda dictionary.
And I'm missing one of the main features of it. Unfortunately, I don't have a King James Bible. All right, so I'm going to pause the video there. Everybody heard me clearly say I'm going to take you to what's considered the Hebrew Israelite Starter Kit. And that's why you saw me pull out the Ben Yehuda's dictionary. But that wasn't to suggest that the dictionaries that I look at solely consists of the Ben Yehuda's dictionary. So because we know this little jackass is watching, I want you to make sure that your glasses are on very, very tight so that you can see my screen. Oh, jackass. All right, so we're going to start off light. Again, listening is an art, and apparently people don't like to listen. In that video, I said I am going to draw for what's considered the Hebrew Israelites starter kit. And I pulled out the Ben Yehuda's Hebrew dictionary. But that was not to give the notion that that is the only Hebrew book that I read. So let me just take you guys through my collection. I have an ancient Hebrew Torah lexicon by Jeff A. Boehner. Right? We're starting light. We're starting light. I have Jeff A. Boehner's Ancient Hebrew Torah. All right? I also have a book entitled Learning Biblical Hebrew, Reading for Comprehension and Introductory Grammar by Carl V. Kutz and Rebecca Josberger. And I like that particular book so much that I actually bought it twice. I like this particular book so much that I actually bought it twice. All right? What else do we got? Biblical Hebrew and Introductory Grammar by Paige H. Kelly. All right? Etymological Dictionary of Biblical Hebrew, based on the commentaries of Samson Raphael Hirsch, written by Matit Yahu Clark. An Introduction to Biblical Aramaic by Andreas Schul. Hold on, I'm not done. There's more. An Old Testament parsing guide on Biblical Hebrew by Todd S. Beal, William A. Banks, and Colin Smith. I'm not done. There's more. You want to get super technical? The Masoretic text employs what we call the Tiberian vocalization system. But how do we know that the Tiberian vocalization system, is bona fide or authentic or genuine, right? Is anybody studying to see why it is that we would accept the Tiberian vocalization system? I surely am. Cambridge Semitic Language and Culture, The Tiberian Pronunciation Tradition of Biblical Hebrew, Volume 1 by Jeffrey Kahn. But I'm not done. There's more. We talk about Aramaic, right? Most of you know that I don't hide that I study the oral tradition. Hold on. Let me, I don't always do this, but hold on. We might be in rare form tonight. Hold on. Let me stay on language for a second before I show the next book. This book right here is a grammar dictionary on the Aramaic that's used in the oral tradition, otherwise known as the Talmud. I guarantee you this guy don't got none of these books. I guarantee you. All right, this is an Aramaic dictionary of the Talmud because I study the oral tradition. So I make sure that when I'm reading the Talmud in Aramaic, I'm making sure that I'm following it correctly. So I got my Aramaic dictionary. But that's not it. There's more. I also have a glossary of all of the Talmudic scholars ever mentioned in both the Palestinian Talmud, also known as the Jerusalem Talmud, as well as the Babylonian Talmud. Every single scholar that's mentioned, I can tell you when they were born, I can tell you who their teachers were, I can tell you what they taught. That's not it, there's more. I could take you to this book, A Chronological Index of Jewish History, right, which mentions in here that you, Jacob Faturechi, you're a Khazar, and it's mentioned right in this book. Codex Judaica, Chronological Index of Jewish History. But I'm not done. There's more. This is Marcus Jastro's Aramaic Dictionary of the Talmud and Targum, 2 volumes in one. So at this point, y'all should know what I'm going to say, right? I'm not done. This is Jesnius Hebrew Grammar, the linguistics, language composition of Hebrew, its etymology, syntax, tones, verbs, and conjugations. All right, y'all. All right. I'm not done. If you're really a beast with the Hebrew language, what you do is you get this book, Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. You know how when you went to high school and junior high school, your teacher would give you textbooks? But if you ever got called up to go to the teacher's desk and you look at her textbook, it looks remarkably different from the one that the students have. Well, that's this book, Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. This is for teachers of the Hebrew language when you're reading the Tanakh. This is the big boy when it comes to delving into the Hebrew language. It's called Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. And I'm not done because I got the twin to it. And lastly, I love Hebrew so much that I even went out and got myself a Hebrew copy of the Quran entirely written in Hebrew. I'm not done. I also have the Koran Tanakh edition of the land of Israel of the book of Shemot or Exodus. This book that I'm about to show you is the book of Exodus, not just from a historical perspective, but watch this, from the perspective of understanding ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. So this book of Exodus that I have, it includes several metametric terms or hieroglyphic terms, and it gives you a far deeper understanding of the time period of the Exodus narrative by going into the hieroglyphic script. Guarantee you, he don't got this book. Oh snap, I almost forgot, there's more. This is the Rambam's Chumash, the first 5 books, the Torah, with commentary from the Rambam. And this right here is very expensive. Literally over $500. This is an antique collection of the Tanakh. You can see the crown on it. Let me see if I can make you hear it. Encased with silver, right? Antique. It has the 10 Commandments here with the crown, right? The crown is usually seen in a synagogue attached to Torah scrolls. It's right there. The back of the book has the names of the 12 tribes. You know, Jacob, none of the tribes that your people come from. And so I'm just saying that to say, guys, I'm probably, perhaps, one of the most well-studied people when it comes to the Bible. Probably, possibly, one of the most well-studied people when it comes to the Bible. So when I said in my live that I'm going to the Hebrew Israelite starter kit, and I pulled out the Ben Yehuda's dictionary, and he said, the Ben Yehuda's dictionary, that's where he's at. You better do your homework before you come for me. I am not the type of Israelite that you are used to. Believe that. You have European Jews that say that they are Karaite Jews and they reject the oral tradition. And so these are some basic tenets within the Israelite way of life that needs to be understood. Also, people assume that when we say we are Israelites, it is literally something that we just came up with based on...
Yes, it is something you just came up with. It is completely something you just came up with based on a desire for things to be how you wish them to be. There's no history to it whatsoever.
Bible verse interpretation alone and exclusively. And I gotta tell you, that's incorrect also. Because if I were to take you to the book entitled From Babylon to Timbuktu, and I would take you to what is colloquially called the Israelite starter kit. The Israelite starter kit.
That's a Ben Yehuda. That's a Ben Yehuda dictionary.
And I'm missing one of the main features of it. Unfortunately, I don't have a King James Bible. You know what's silly, guys? You know what's silly and downright stupid about this guy's comments? You know what's silly and downright stupid about his comments? You could clearly see in the bookshelf behind me, the bookshelves behind me, that I'm a book collector with several books. But he starts laughing when I mention the Ben Yehuda's dictionary. even though you could see, and again, I still didn't even show you guys everything because most of this stuff is heavy. All right, I still didn't even show you guys everything because most of this stuff is heavy. For those of you who look at my live streams, and you always see this green shelf in the back, right? This green big thing in the back, right? So this is a translation of the 5 books of the Torah with every single commentary ever made in the oral tradition on the Torah, right? It's a 5-volume series. It's heavy as hell. I have to hold it with 2 hands. To get this is $300+. So him talking about my gold chains and I look like Mr. T is trying to, marginalize and, make me look like I don't spend money where it should be spent. When the reality is my bookshelf costs more than a lot of people's favorite sneaker collection. Literally, my books on my bookshelf cost more than some people out there who, how people collect sneakers. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care how much Jordans y'all got, I guarantee you can't touch my bookshelf. That's how serious I take this information, right? And just so we know, we're not capping. Yes, these are actual books that are in here. Yes, they're actual books. They're heavy as hell. I gotta literally hold it with 2 hands. I shouldn't even have to do this, but it just goes to show you the level of blatant racism that some of these European Jewish bastards have for our people. It just goes to show you the blatant racism that some of these European Jewish bastards have for our people. But I'll tell you one thing, you better do your homework when you come for me.
Good.
But
why is that unfortunate?
Would be a King James Bible, but I don't own one, so I have to hold up the Tanakh.
Art scroll. So why King James Bible then? What if you don't own one? So this is an Art Scroll Tanakh.
My Tanakh of choice is the Stone Edition, right? But the Israelite Starter Kit is the King James Bible from Babylon to Timbuktu.
Babylon to Timbuktu. I have no idea what this is. So let me see. Babylon to Timbuktu.
So now he's going to get nasty and talk bad about Rudolph R. Windsor.
A History of Black by Rudolph Windsor. It's a bestseller. I mean, it has 3,000 ratings. Where Windsor Golden Series reprint 2006 by Rudolph Windsor. Who is this Rudolph Windsor guy? And when was this first printed? Just gonna read the first thing. Amazon review. This book is somewhat accurate until you read where the so-called race came from. It's easy to be deceived because you read in the beginning about the 3 sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japhet, because Japhet spread. However, there are other books out there that state otherwise, that the first Greeks were black people. There's gotta be. Rudolph Windsor was born in Long Branch, New Jersey. After living in a number of Jersey communities, his family moved to Philadelphia, studying psychology and political science. Gratz College, majoring in Hebrew Aramaic studies, Temple University in Middle Eastern studies, and the University of Metaphysics, where he received his PhD in metaphysical philosophy. I mean, Temple University, I guess he didn't graduate. Who is this Rudolph Windsor guy? Rudolph Windsor. Let's see if there's a Wikipedia article on this guy.
keep in mind, guys, keep in mind, this is the guy that Vocab Malone used and will use this week to respond to me. Keep that in mind. It's obvious that his scholarly effort is poor, but I could get past that because I could just have fun in a live stream making a clown out of you, showing you to be the jackass that you are. But it's that blatant racism that our people tend to find very disrespectful, not so much because it's blatant, because we respect that if you're a racist that you're going to really stand on being a racist, but it's really the idea that we know that the racism that you wreak, that kind of energy, you wouldn't keep in person with none of us. Right? And I almost forgot to mention, right? How could you mention the Rambam? I almost forgot. How could you mention the Rambam and not mention somebody who's considered even greater that came before him, right? One of the most famous works by the Rambam, a Moorish Israelite that lives during the Moorish occupation of Spain. One of his greatest works is known as More Nevukim, otherwise known as the Guide for the Perplexed. His magnus opus is considered the Mishneh Torah. That's Mishneh Torah. All right, that's the magnus opus. But apart from that, bar none, More Nevukim, or the Guide for the Perplexed, is certainly one of the greatest books that the Rambam has ever produced. But I'd be remiss to mention the Rambam and not mention this giant, who is also one of the first people to go on record saying that Ashkenazim are Khazars. And that is Saadia Gaon, a Moorish Jew who lives almost 200 years before the Rambam. And in his commentary on the Torah, he regards Ashkenazic Jews as belonging to the people known as Khazars. And European Jews put so much respect on Saadia Gaon and his work because they know he's a scholar, but they don't like talking about the correlations he made between Ashkenazim and Khazars, so as to say that the original Ashkenazim were all Khazars. Why are you guys not talking about Saadia Gaon? But don't worry. Most of my community, 99.9% of them, don't even know who Saadia Gaon is. But don't worry. I'm going to make sure that my people not only know who he is, but know which of his books to find these types of references.
Well, no, but there's a Wikipedia article on From Babylon to Timbuktu. Oh no, that's a album by Wu-Tang Clan affiliate Timbo King. Okay. Okay. I guess I can't find a thing. Who is this guy? Well, the book is available on archive.org. It's 160 pages. Lucina.com. First edition 1969. And it's been printed over and over again. Gratz College. I have no idea what Gratz College is. Or who these people are. I see no. Where are his where are the it looks like it has footnotes, but I don't see the actual footnotes. Must be at the end, I'm guessing. Let's see. Okay.
Okay, while the jackass is sitting back, confused, looking for more books, let me take the time to pull out some more books. This is Brown Driver Briggs, Hebrew and English Lexicon, coded with Strong's Concordance and number. And if we're going to show that, we can follow that up with the big boy, Strong's Concordance, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Strong's Concordance, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. And the reason why he's really mad at me is because of books like this. And the source text for books like this, the Kuzari.
Page 136 is where they start. Okay, chapter 1. This point will be proven later. That's his footnote. Consult Rashi's commentary on Genesis. Doesn't say which one. Read the life and works of Josephus. Just the life and works. I mean, I guess that's Genesis, Dr. Spicer's commentary on Genesis. As I expected, the notes are bullshit. Maybe, oh God, how deep can you go into this type of stupidity? I mean, if you're gonna spend your time trying to address all this stupidity, it's not easy. I'll tell you that much.
A Hebrew dictionary, preferably Ben Yehuda's, and a highlighter, or 2, or 3, or 4. And so what I can definitely tell you then is when we say that we are Israelites and we have just came into the truth or awakened to the truth, that is also based on the words and teachings of the Bible. There are several places in the Bible where the nation of Israel are just. And just so we're clear for the record, he hasn't refuted a single thing I said yet. Two hours into listening to him, and he hasn't refuted anything. In fact, he said He's impressed at my Hebrew. I read better than most. This is a very interesting little jackass. Described by the biblical prophets and likened unto a lion who was sleeping. The Bible talks about, as a matter of prophecy, God causing a great sleep and slumber to come upon the children of Israel. And the Creator also references in several places the notion that we would be removed from our land, our language, and our culture, which would by proxy take away our identity and our connection to our ancestors of old. And so when we reconnect with our identity, our cultural connection to our ancestors of old, as well as the culture of Torah, we say we have awakened to these truths. And that's extremely important. And so that's why you have the term or terminology. Y'all notice he's sitting there stuck on stupid, not knowing how to refute what I'm saying right now, right? Y'all notice as I'm explaining to him the reason why Israelites self-describe themselves as being awakened Israelites is because the Bible describes us as falling under a spiritual slumber. The Bible likens us to a lion asleep. And the Bible says that we will come to. In other words, we will awaken. Several places in the Bible it says, "Awake, awake, O ye sons of Zion, and you daughters of Zion." But he was laughing it up with Vocab Malone as to why Israelites describe themselves as being awakened. But when I explained it so perfectly here, you should notice that he's sitting here stuck on stupid like a little jackass that he is.
Genesis.
And a highlighter, or 2, or 3, or 4. And so what I can definitely tell you then is when we say that we are Israelites and we have just came into the truth or awakened to the truth, that is also based on the words and teachings of the Bible. There are several places in the Bible where the nation of Israel are described by the biblical prophets and likened unto a lion who was sleeping. The Bible talks about, as a matter of prophecy, God causing a great sleep and slumber to come upon the children of Israel. And the Creator also references in several places the notion that we would be removed from our land, our language, and our culture, which would by proxy take away our identity and our connection to our ancestors of old. And so when we reconnect with our identity, our cultural connection to our ancestors of old, as well as the culture of Torah, we say we have awakened to these truths. And that's extremely important. And so that's why you have the term or terminology employed in the Israelite community. People say that they awakened, all right? Or people describe this process as an awakening, all right? It's born right out of the Hebrew Bible, where people are actually described in the Bible, not just people, I mean specifically Israelites, as being spiritually asleep, right? It's important to know. And so again, I decided to do this video because so many people have so many horrible notions of what an actual Israelite is, okay? Israelites don't just read Deuteronomy 28:68, where it says, "And you shall be placed on ships." And in all of the other accumulative verses in Deuteronomy 28 chapter allude to the places that we would be going to via ship. We come to understand. Look at him sitting back learning, y'all. He literally got a goddamn pen in his hand. He taking notes. That in more ways than one, the curses of Deuteronomy 28 are in fulfillment of the transatlantic slave kidnapping trade. All right. I gotta say this to y'all. We're about to close in about 15 minutes. But this is the most disrespectful part of the video, and that's why I saved it for the end. I describe the transatlantic slave trade as the transatlantic kidnapping slave trade, where they kidnapped doctors, lawyers, professionals. I want y'all to listen very carefully to what this little racist bastard is going to say about that. But first, I need you to listen to me carefully when I tell you that you're going to hear me say in the next couple of moments that during the transatlantic kidnapping slave trade, they kidnapped doctors and lawyers. And then I'm going to say, wait, you thought I was going to say they kidnapped slaves? They came for professionals, people who knew how to use the resources in the land. Then I want you to listen to what this little racist bastard is going to say. I want everybody to gear up. This is the most disrespectful part, the most racist part of the video. And everybody should take this video and tag Vocab Malone with it on Facebook and YouTube, and ask Vocab and ask his followers why Vocab would have a racist person like this respond to somebody about a Bible disagreement. I want you guys to take a snippet of this response right here. Get your phone recorders ready. This is the most disrespectful part of the video. This is the most racist part of the video. And here we go. And that's extremely important. And so that's why you have the term or terminology employed in the Israelite community. People say that they awakened, all right? Or people describe this process as an awakening, all right? It's born right out of the Hebrew Bible, where people are actually described in the Bible, not just people, I mean specifically Israelites, as being spiritually asleep, right? It's important to know. And so again, I decided to do this video because so many people have so many horrible notions of what an actual Israelite is, okay? Israelites don't just read Deuteronomy 28:68, where it says, and you shall be placed on ships. And in all of the other accumulative verses in Deuteronomy 28 chapter allude to the places that we would be going to via ship. We come to understand that we almost there. Throw up the video, family, and share it live. I want everybody to tag Adam Coleman on Facebook and on Instagram. Tag BK Apologist on Facebook and on Instagram. Tag Vocab Malone on Facebook and Instagram. Take a snippet of this video and ask them, how is it as Black people, BK Apologists? How is it as Black people, Adam Coleman, that you would actually call Vocab Malone your friend when he can be this blatantly racist towards your Black brothers? Because we disagree? That in more ways than one, the curses of Deuteronomy 28 are in fulfillment of the transatlantic slave kidnapping trade, where they kidnapped doctors, nurses, lawyers. Wait, y'all thought I was going to say they kidnapped slaves?
Doctors, lawyers, what? Nurses? Doctors. Witch doctors, maybe.
Did everybody just hear this little European Jewish bastard just say, lawyers, doctors, witch doctors, maybe? All of the other accumulative verses in Deuteronomy 28 chapter allude to the places that we would be going to via ship. We come to understand that in more ways than one, the curses of Deuteronomy 28 are in fulfillment of the transatlantic slave kidnapping trade, where they kidnapped doctors, nurses, lawyers. Wait, y'all thought I was gonna say they kidnapped slaves?
Doctors, lawyers, what? Nurses? Doctors. Witch doctors, maybe.
Thumb up the video, share live, support your brother Zion Lexx. I put my name on the line. I put my honor on the line. I might even be putting my life on the line. Make sure you support this platform. Make sure you support your brother. Peace to everybody. I'm out.